Well, good morning. How's everyone doing today? Good. Happy Sunday. I am so excited to be here with you. Can we give a big welcome to everyone joining us online this morning? We're so glad you're tuning in, and we hope to see you here in the building sometime soon. If we haven't met yet, my name's Shannon. I'm one of the pastors here at the Well. I love my job and all the things I get to do. One of the things, and also love to do and are really scared to do. In 2 weeks from tomorrow, I'm taking 17 children to camp for summer camp. Yeah, woohoo! I'm so excited, so terrified. I promise to bring them back, safely. That's not what I'm scared of. Just students are scary, high school and middle school kids are really funny and they just know how to make fun of you in a way that's painful. But I just have to learn how to give it back, I guess. But we are so excited to go to Memphis, Tennessee in 2 weeks for the Access Student Conference. And we actually still have, I think, one more ticket, maybe two more tickets if anybody last minute wants to jump in there. But you'll see in the back of the auditorium, we have a bake sale again this Sunday. Last Sunday, we got almost $900 for student camp. Yeah, it was unbelievable. Thank you so much. Which completely covers us 2 students' fees for the entire week at camp. So we're so grateful for that. And we have more treats back there, some gluten-free options this week if you're one of those people that is so sad in life. We are trying not to even upcharge you like most businesses do. But please head back to the back of the auditorium after service. I'll be back there and we can share a little more about camp. And you don't need cash. You can give online as long as you say it's for youth. And it'll be great. And then in 2 weeks, we'll leave. And in 3 weeks, we'll let you know how great it was. So be a part of that and be praying for our students as we prepare to go. All the parents are like, we just hope they meet Jesus. And I'm like, yeah, same. I hope I meet Jesus more. That's great. We're in the middle of our freedom series where we are kind of exploring what kind of freedoms we are given in life with Jesus at the center of it all. It's a freedom that goes beyond our understanding, that we can't always quantify or explain well, but we're kind of discovering what it looks like to live life alongside Jesus. In Romans 6:18, this is our verse for the series. It says, "Now you are free from your slavery to sin, and you have become slaves to righteousness." Living. I love this verse. It's such an incredible reminder that we get to decide who we want to be and who or what we want to be mastered by. That the Bible explains very clearly, there is something that is in control of your life. There is something that is kind of influencing you the most. And hopefully that thing is Jesus, your faith in him. But we get to decide what that looks like and whether or not there are other areas of life that are kind of sneaking in, creeping in on that. And today I just want to explore what it looks like to find another kind of sense of freedom in another area of our lives. My goal, that verse, is to live righteously. That's what I want to be doing every day, is hopefully make choices that reflect Christ's righteousness in my life. And I want to be clear that I don't think that I'm doing better than anybody that isn't trying to do that. I'm not better than them. But I know that I'm better than the Shannon who wasn't pursuing righteousness. That the Shannon who didn't know Jesus and wasn't going after a life of righteousness was a worse person. And I think she was pretty great, in and of her own for the way Jesus made her, but she was not worrying about how she was treating people or how she was living life or whether or not she was changing the world in a way that was meaningful or not. She was just kind of hanging out, and she was fine and not killing anybody, but she was not doing anything of note. And so I love her and I appreciate her, but I know that I'm better than her now because of Christ. And that's what we want to realize is when we step into a life of freedom with Jesus, not only do we experience grander and better things, he actually makes us more like Christ. And we get to be grander and better people. And so that's what I want to encourage us to this morning, that Christ gives us this opportunity to live life unencumbered by the world's stresses and worries and pressures. That we don't actually have to worry about those things and we just get to live in Jesus. So a couple weeks ago, Pastor Jerry talked through freedom to worship, which he explained he did not initially want to preach that message, and then Jesus told him he had to. I was supposed to preach that message, so I was pretty sad when Jesus was like, no, it's his, because I really like worship, and he doesn't. And so my message would have been so fun, and I probably would have sang, and I could have cried, and now you'll never get to know what it is. You'll never get to hear it. So I was assigned freedom to be generous, which was What are you trying to tell me, Jesus? So what's beautiful about this one is I don't feel any like, oh my gosh, I've never been generous my whole life and now I have to learn how to be generous. But I did learn a lot about what generosity looks like and what the heart behind it is. And then it's not just monetary generosity that Jesus is asking us to show. Monetary generosity is important. It's like necessary for the church, for life, for all those things. But there are so many other ways to display a heart of generosity. And even though I don't like money that much or talking about it that much, because it's been like kind of a rough go in my life of money. I've kind of shared this a little bit. Right now is probably the healthiest financially I've ever been. And my attitude about money has been the best it's ever been. But that was a long road. And it's not something I really want to get into with you guys. So we're going to talk about money a little, but not a ton. So generosity matters. That's just true. It's one of the hallmarks of the church. Really, the church should be the most generous group of people that exists in the world. There shouldn't be a people group or a culture or a hangout friend group who is more generous, who out-generouses the church. We should be the ones that are the most generous in the entire world, and it should be one of the ways people recognize us. Our generosity, because out of everyone in the world, Christians are the ones that have experienced the most generosity in general from the Lord. We have experienced more from our Creator than any other person who does not walk with Him. And out of that experience, we need to be showing that to the people around us. We are some of the richest people in the world in this room. You all probably slept in a bed last night and drove a car here today and probably had breakfast. And if you didn't have breakfast, you probably chose not to have breakfast. It wasn't like a food scarcity thing in your life. But I do want to say, if you are struggling with any of those things, including food scarcity, please let us be the church. Let us actively love you and be a part of that, because we want to be generous in every way we can to those that we are in communion with. But that to say, we are some of the richest people in the whole world, that we don't have to worry about a lot day to day when it comes to living and existing and surviving and getting through things. And so we have an incredible ability, an incredible opportunity to share what we have with people, to not just hoard it for ourselves. And I was thinking through the different seasons of my life where generosity or having plenty or having what felt like a lack really defined who I was and my attitude about giving. And so I wanted to explore these three times of life that really can teach us what and how and why it is to be generous. So the first season that we're going to talk about is freedom to be generous because of the future. Now, none of us have experienced the future yet. I totally get that. If you have, I'd love to hear about that sometime. But we can, by looking at our future, we can know that by having the right attitude about the future, it can inform how we're willing to be generous today. So the future can be really scary. It's all like, will I have enough? Or will my family be able to be taken care of? Or what if something terrible happens? How will I survive that? And those are not bad questions. They're not. But a lot of times we ask them in fear, not just in trying to figure it out. We're worried about the future. And that worry can be a chain around the neck of generosity. It can actually hold us back from being people that are willing to give up what we have to meet the needs of others. We think about securing the kind of future we want, which is not bad. It is right to have an emergency fund. It is okay to save up to go to Disney World. All those things are fine. But it's when we start to hoard wealth and possessions out of fear that someday we might need them. So if you're one of those guys that has 18 extra random cords in your closet because what if you need that cord someday? You don't. You don't need it. I don't even know how to be generous with it. I don't know who needs it. Probably no one. Get rid of excess stuff you don't need. We don't want to be fearful in the ways that we save, in the ways that we plan, in the ways that we make sure we're good for the future. In Matthew 6, verse 19, he says, "Don't store up treasures here on earth, where moths eat them and rust destroys them, and where thieves break in and steal. Store your treasures in heaven, where moths and rust cannot destroy, and thieves do not break in and steal. Wherever your treasure is, there the desires of your heart will also be." It's such a good caution and encouragement. He's like, hey, I understand that you have a savings account. That's fine. But don't care so much about your savings account that your heart isn't treasuring the things that are actually valuable. It's fine to plan for the future, but it's not okay to plan for the future out of a fear that God won't do what He promised He's going to do, which is take care of you. And if there's anything in our lives, money, whatever, cars, a relationship, anything that's in your life right now, that if you lost it, it would affect your faith in the Lord, it's an idol. And you need to look at why your heart is so attached to that thing or that person or that whatever. And decide maybe the love of that thing or the value of that thing is not wrong, but that God has not been elevated above it. And so as we look at our futures, we need to see if God took it all away, if something happened and it all went away, would my faith stand? And the truth is, you can never really know what's going to happen. But being able to trust in the Lord is how we know we're in the right place and can do the right things when it comes to generosity. Later in Matthew, I had the verses up, but it's like 12 verses, and I didn't want to read it all to you because it's a lot of reading and listening to me. But he talks about, consider the lilies of the field and the birds in the sky. They're dressed so beautifully and they're taken care of so well. And if God cares about the flowers and the birds, why wouldn't he take care of you? So we need to stop asking, but what if this happens? And what if that happens? And what are we supposed to eat? And what do you think we're going to wear? And how are we going to make sure we're taken care of? And what if we never get to do that thing? And Jesus is like, hey, we don't need to ask those questions because God is going to come through. He has never not come through. And out of all his creation, he does love us the most, because we're made in his image. So we don't have to worry about the future. I saw this great story online of a woman who had just had a baby, and she was breastfeeding and had an abundance of breast milk. She was freezing a lot of it, and her baby was very well fed, and she was so excited and grateful that she had so much. Her body was producing so much. And then her friend on Facebook shared a post from a woman who was like, I just had a baby. My body's not producing any milk. We can't afford formula. Can anybody please donate anything you have, formula, breast milk, whatever. And she looked at her freezer full of breast milk and she was like, I can't give this away. What if I stop producing and then my baby has nothing? What am I gonna, I can't risk not having what I need. And the Lord basically said to her, you're not willing to meet the need of a hungry baby now because your baby might be hungry in the future, instead of knowing that I would take care of your baby no matter what, knowing that God was gonna honor the generosity that she had. And so she decided, yeah, I'm gonna give this away because I don't need it. I have it just in case, but just in case isn't really how God works. Like, God already knows the case. And so she donated the breast milk to this woman who was able to feed her baby, and she never ran out. Like, she was fine and her baby was fine, and they all grew up wonderful and healthy. And it's just this idea that there are needs happening right now that are real, but we're imagining needs in the future that are not real and might not ever be real. So we need to not worry about the future and make it more important than what's happening right now. Don't let our future worries kind of ruin our chance to be generous. The main point for that is that trusting God for the future allows us to be generous today. That we don't need to worry, if I give this away, what if I need it later? Well, if you need it later, God will figure out a way for you to have it. Because God doesn't let us go with our needs unmet. So it's an active decision every day to say, I can do this. I can give this. I can share this. Because God has got it no matter what. There is nothing that I have to be afraid of in the future that I can't let go of today because I know who my God is. And that takes us to the freedom to be generous because of the present. Generosity, like I said, is not just to do with money. There's a million other ways to be generous, but it is a fact of life that money is like necessary. Like, if you don't have it, there's a lot of things that will go wrong in your life. And that is true about the church as well. A couple of years ago, 5 years ago or so, I was at the beach with my family for 4th of July with my cousin Michael, who's a few years older than me, and he was sadly just going through a divorce, and thankfully it got him back to church. He started going to this great church in Pennsylvania that I know really well, and he was telling me all the things he was liking about it, and it was like the first time someone in my extended family like cared at all that I was a pastor. I was like, yeah, let's talk, please. This would be great. And so he's telling me what he loves about it and asking me questions, and then he was like, the thing is, like, I leave at the same time before the service is over every single week. And I was like, oh, you leave early? And he was like, yeah, like before it's over, I get out of there. And I said, what's happening when you leave? And he was like, they're about to pass the plates for money. They're asking us to give money. And I was like, oh, why do you leave then? And he was like, because they don't need my money and they shouldn't be asking for it. And I was like, huh, okay. Does your church have lights on? And he was like, I mean, yeah. And I was like, and there's like places to sit? And he said, yeah. And I was like, and there's people that work there? And he was like, yeah. And I was like, so question, how do you think they get money? And he was like, oh, I did not think of that. And I was like, and just like for the last 15 years of my life, I've worked at a church. Like, how do you think I've made any money? Do you think people are just like, I don't know, slipping it to me on the side? Like, no. And he was like, okay, yeah, I never thought of that. And the thing is, I wasn't trying to shame him. I was just like, I don't think you've thought about this, that like you're going and receiving something that you're really excited about and really thankful for in your life, but not willing to invest in it, which is so wild. And he just hadn't thought about it, and he hadn't been taught about it, so he didn't know. And I don't know what he's doing now. I have not followed up in the last few years to be like, are you tithing? Because that's his church's business and not really mine. But the thing is that he's right. The church does not need his money, but it does need someone's money. God has created the church to be the vehicle that is going to share the gospel and the good news with people all over the world. But biblically speaking, it is imperative that the people that are a part of it keep it running, that he uses people to do all those things. God doesn't actually need people to do anything. But he's like, you are my chosen ones. You are the ones that I meant to do this. And so my cousin, Mike, I was like, hey, you don't have to do anything you don't want to do, but this will make your life better. It will. And so I hope he left that conversation knowing that I wasn't trying to shame him or say like, you have to give the church all your money, because you don't have to give the church all your money. That's not the point. But I do know that when we invest in things that are valuable to us, we get a bigger return out of them. What we're willing to put in something is what we're willing to get out of something. And this idea that like mine isn't really a word that Christians should use when it comes to their money and possessions and the things that they have, because everything is the Lord's. Everything. In Psalm 24:1, it says, the earth is the Lord's and everything in it. The world and all its people belong to him, which is hard for people to hear. Like, even your children belong to the Lord. Even your parents belong to the Lord. Everything is the Lord's. Nothing truly belongs to us. And that can be kind of scary to think about, but also really freeing, that we don't have to worry about where it's coming from or where it's going, because God is in control. And so we're living now in a world where it's imperative that we are open-handed and open-hearted with the things that God has entrusted to us, that we're good stewards of our money, good stewards of our possessions, good stewards of our time, good stewards of our talents, so that they can be used by the Lord to build his kingdom. So he does not need us. That's so true. But he does choose us and entrust us to help build his kingdom through the church and walk along with Jesus. In the book of Acts, Paul is speaking to the church elders about how they should be, how they should act, how people should perceive them. And in chapter 20, verse 33, it says, I have never coveted anyone's silver or gold or fine clothes. You know that these hands of mine have worked to supply my own needs and even the needs of those who are with me. And I have been a constant example of how you can help those in need by working hard. You should remember the words of Lord Jesus. It is more blessed to give than receive. Giving should be our default. And in any way that we can give. I have friends that love picking up the tab at dinner, and I'm like, I'm gonna hang out with you more. I wish I could do that. Like, I don't make enough to do that, but I wish I could pay for everyone all the time. Like, I would love to do that. I have friends who are generous with their homes, and they open their home to whoever wants to come over and hang out and fellowship and just be together and be just loved and loved well. I have friends who pack their calendars for coffee meetings and mentoring, and I can hang out with you, and do you need someone to listen? And they're very generous with their time. I have a really great friend from Friday Night Karaoke who not a churchgoer really, but he heard we were doing a bake sale, and he was like, why didn't you ask me to bake? And I was like, I'm sorry. And so he made really delicious blueberry lavender scones and brown sugar marshmallow M&M cookies. So make sure you get those. And he might be here second service, so you might get to meet him too. But I just have people in my life that I see being generous in so many ways that you wouldn't necessarily think of as generosity, but they totally count. And so your generosity might not come from your wallet or bank account, but it does come from the very way you live your life in relation to other people. And we can't let the season that we're in dampen our willingness and our drive to be generous. So our lives are not just about us. Like, that's the bottom line for the present. Your present is really not about you. A lot of times these days people are saying like, protect your peace. And I'm like, no, your peace is Jesus. Jesus does not need protecting. So you'll have peace if you lean on him. And then otherwise, like, give some of your time away. Or like, look out for number one. You're not number one. Like, none of us are number one. Jesus is number one and still didn't look out for number one. So like, that's not something we need to be doing. We need to be looking for ways to serve other people. Our lives are not about us. And it is okay to say no to yourself. It is okay to go without so that someone else can go with something. In 2 Corinthians 9, 6 through 10, it says, remember this, a farmer who plants only a few seeds will get a small crop, but the one who plants generously will get a generous crop. You must each decide in your heart how much to give. And don't give reluctantly or in response to pressure, for God loves a person who gives cheerfully. And God will generously provide all you need. Then you will always have everything you need and plenty left over to share with others. And as the scriptures say, they share freely and give generously to the poor. Their good deeds will be remembered forever, for God is the one who provides seed for the farmer and the bread to eat. In the same way, he will provide and increase your resources and then produce a great harvest of generosity in you. One of my friends from my old church in Virginia, his name's Ben. He's very good with money, makes a lot of money, and he tried to help me when I was 20, be good with money. It did not work then. But he told me one time that he wanted to make so much money so that eventually he could give away half of it and still live comfortably with his family. And he was like, that's my goal, is I want to give away as much as I'm keeping. And I thought that was an incredible goal. One I'll probably never be able to do, but I love that for him it was like, my goal is to give. The only reason I want to make more is I can give more. And it was a really beautiful way that he was going to invest in people, in life, that he was going to sow seeds of generosity. The third season I want to talk about is freedom to be generous because of the past. The things that we have learned from our past, the way that we've seen God move, is going to inform our willingness and ability to be generous. So before we end our time together this morning, I want to ask you a very simple question. Has God ever failed to provide something that you truly needed? Has he ever left you somewhere to flounder and fail? My guess is if you're sitting here, that you have not died, that God has not left you to suffer and fail and to feel the weight of the world crushing down around you. That even in the hardest moments that maybe you hit what you thought was rock bottom, God was present and pulled you out of it. And we know, when I think through my past, we know that there's not one thing I've gone through that God hasn't brought me out of, that he hasn't used to make beauty in my life. Some of the toughest things I've gone through have become some of the most beautiful testimonies of God's goodness in my life. And I'm really grateful. Every time I've had financial stress or something wrong with where I live or my car, or I'm just emotionally a mess, which is often, God has used people, a lot of you, to meet my needs that I've never had to go without. Even if it took longer than I wanted to, God always showed up. And I'm aware that because I'm here at the Well and because I'm on staff, that a lot of you know me and you love me and you're very, very generous to me, and I'm so grateful for that. But one of my favorite stories of generosity here at the Well happened before I was super well known and probably still well loved, because you guys are amazing and you love people so well. But in January 2015, I moved here, which was almost over 11 years ago now. And I moved very far from my friends and family. Everybody was on the East Coast, mostly around the Philadelphia area. And I'd been here just a couple months when I found out that my grandmother was in hospice. And this is a picture of me and my grandma. It's my favorite photo of all time, on the side of our front yard, opening the mail together. And she was super old when I was 3. She was 75 when I was born. So when I moved here, she was just before her 101st birthday. So February of 2015, she turned 101 years old, super old, really old. And so we knew it wasn't going to last forever, but I had 26 wonderful years with her. And so in early April of that year, I was here about 3 months, I found out that she was in hospice care, and I was devastated because I had missed her 101st birthday because I lived here. So that was a bummer. Her 100th was really fun, though. So I was very stressed because I really wanted to go home and see her. And I had a flight to go to D.C. for a wedding that week. And changing the flight was going to be $400. I don't know. It was a lot. It was more money than I had. I had another wedding the next month that I was in that I needed to pay for. And I had 2 weddings in the summer and a lot of travel. And I just didn't have any money. I did not have any money. And I was I'm not going to get to see her. It's okay. I've had her my whole life. It's fine. And so that Sunday morning, I'm going to cry. That Sunday morning, I was here at the Well, and I was down in the Wave with the elementary kids. And Pastor Jerry came downstairs with a white envelope that was blank. And he just said, someone left this on my desk to give to you. And I said, who? And he goes, I don't know. It was on my desk when I got here this morning. And I opened the envelope and there was $200 in it because someone in the church knew that I really wanted to go home. And I don't know if they had $200 to spare or if they gave up something so that I could have that money. But I was able to change my ticket and go home. And I got to my grandmother 2 hours before she passed away. And I got to sing with her and I got to pray with her. And I got to watch my family all freak out because I didn't know what to do. And I was like, let's bring peace. I was there with her, and it was so lucky. And my cousin Julie said, I think she waited for you. And I was so grateful that someone decided that I was, yeah, thank you. Yeah, it was one of the most amazing moments that God showed up in my life. And then after she passed, I called Pastor Jerry and I said, hey, she passed and her funeral's next Tuesday. And he said, well, what do you want to do? And I said, I want to stay in Pennsylvania. I need to miss this Sunday, if that's okay. And he was like, yes, of course it's okay. We'll cover everything. And the generosity of that too. Like I'd already asked off probably like 5 weeks that year because of all the weddings and stuff. And he was like afraid to say no to me because I was crying all the time. Which was fair. But he was like, yep, we'll see you next week when you get back. Whenever you get back is fine. And I just saw generosity after generosity after generosity that week. And then my friend Kevin, who was an intern here, had no money, like literally nothing, sent me $100 just in case I was feeling financially stressed about all the money I just put out. And I was just overwhelmed. And I don't know who gave that money initially. And if you're still here, thank you. Like I've never gotten to say thank you to you. But you created a moment in my life that spurred my faith forever. And those are the moments that generosity create in other people's lives. When needs are met, they feel loved. They know that God is for them and with them and caring for them. And because I can never know who this person was, the only person I can thank is Jesus. He's the only one that gets the glory and the credit because he met a need in a time that I really was okay with not being able to do it. And he wanted that for me, and he was kind and good. So it's been 11 years, and I think about that moment all the time as a marker in my life, in my past, of a time that God showed up and proved to me who he is over and over and over again. And so these are the things I want us to be thinking about as we create moments in people's lives where they can praise the Lord and give glory to him for his goodness. The Bible calls these moments Ebenezer's, because when something victorious or wonderful would happen in the Old Testament, they would place stones in a certain way, and so that they could remember that this was a spot, something that they wanted to remember. And in 1 Samuel 7:12, he says, it's because up to this point, the Lord has helped us. So we need to be remembering the things that God has done so that we can remember that he'll always be there for us. And now every time I have the capacity to meet any need, especially financially, I want to, because it's been done for me. And I want to guess that if you go through the parts of your life and think about all the things that God has done for you, it will spur you on to generosity. It will make you want to give more because you've been given so much. And that's what I want to challenge us to do today, is take stock of what you have. Like sit for a minute and think about how much the Lord has given you. In every area, every type of thing you could have, time, talent, treasure, think about what you have so that you know what you have to give. You have it, and you have it to give away. I'm not asking about what you want to give or what you feel comfortable giving. I'm asking what the Lord is calling you to give and how generosity is supposed to play out in your life. Generosity is not a suggestion from the Lord. It is an invitation to experience something beautiful in life. And because of our trust in him and his control in our life, the way that he cares for us, we don't ever have to worry in the midst of our generosity. And that is where the freedom comes from. And so the band is coming and going to lead us in a time of worship today. And I just want to encourage you to take this moment and think about, Lord, what are things that I'm holding on to that you want me to use to bless people? What are needs that you want me to meet? Lord, remind me today of the things you've done in my life and grow my faith through those things. And help me to be a person that is marked by generosity because of the knowledge I have that you have cared for me, Lord. The prayer team's going to come up and they'll be here if you want any kind of covering or intercession or prayer for your life or anything you're going through. that would love to partner with you in that. At our responsive cross stations, you can find papers where you can write prayers and leave them on the cross. You can take communion there, or you can light a candle as a symbol for the yearning that's inside you to see God move in some way. But I hope this morning that he moves us towards generosity, that he reminds us who he is in our lives, and we never have to be concerned or afraid, that we can only live in freedom. Would you pray with me? Father, I thank you for how good you are. I bless your holy name this morning, and thank you for the reminder that you've always taken care of us, that you've always gone before us, that you've never left us. God, speak to our hearts this morning and show us the ways where you invite us to build your kingdom through generosity, where we get to be reminded of all the times in life that you have come through for us. The times when we were the most afraid that you made it right, the times when we were most worried and you provided. God, remind us of those times. Build Ebenezer's in our lives that we can stand there and look at the future unafraid and confident in who you are, Lord. We love you, Jesus. We just want to spend this moment with you. In your name we pray. Amen.